I still remember that night as if it were etched into my bones, the night I walked into our bedroom and found my wife crouched by the bed, carefully folding dresses, perfume bottles tucked into the corners of a suitcase, the kind of meticulous packing she never did for our trips together, and when I asked, half dreading, half hoping, "Where are you going?" she didn't even flinch, didn't even try to sugarcoat the knife she was about to twist. She simply looked up with a faint smile and said, "I'm going away with him," and by him, she meant her ex, the ghost I thought I had buried years ago. The shadow she swore was nothing but the past, and though my chest tightened like a vice, though my blood screamed to rage, beg, demand an explanation, I felt only a strange stillness as I looked at her, and while she waited for a storm, for chaos that would justify her betrayal, I gave her neither. I gave her only 2 words that cut sharper than any argument: be ready. And the way her smirk faltered, the way her fingers hesitated over the zipper of that suitcase told me she hadn't expected that. She had expected me to break, to plead, to give her the twisted satisfaction of watching me crumble, but instead those 2 words froze her smile, because behind them was something she couldn't quite read, a threat, a promise, or a revelation that she was not in control of this game as much as she thought. And while she blinked, uncertain, I turned and walked away, and that was the beginning of her unraveling, because while she thought she was abandoning me for a man who once broke her heart, she had no idea that I had seen this coming for months. The late nights, the hidden texts, the mysterious work dinners, the way she dressed differently when she said she was out with friends, all the clues had been there, and while she thought she was clever, I had been preparing in silence, gathering evidence, securing accounts, moving money, contacting lawyers, setting a quiet trap that needed only her arrogance to spring. And now here it was, playing out in front of me like a script. So while she finished her packing in that frozen silence, probably wondering what "be ready" meant, I slipped into my study, opened the folder on my computer filled with her messages, photos, hotel bookings, and call logs, all time-stamped and undeniable, and I sent them to my attorney with one simple instruction: proceed. And by the time she zipped that bag shut, my marriage was already legally dead, and she just didn't know it yet. But the beauty of betrayal is that it always comes with irony, because when she left the next morning, suitcase rolling behind her, forcing a smile as she kissed my cheek like an actress in a bad play, I simply repeated those words, "Be ready," and watched her pause, her eyes flickering with a fear she tried to hide, because now she knew I wasn't the broken man she wanted me to be. I was something else entirely, and as she walked out that door, she thought she was choosing passion over stability, freedom over love, but what she was really choosing was destruction over security, because while she spent her days tangled in nostalgia with her ex, I spent mine dismantling her world piece by piece, transferring ownership of the house to my name, canceling her access to joint accounts, removing her from credit cards, even calling her employer to provide evidence of her misconduct with a client, because yes, he wasn't just her ex, he was also tied to her work, a detail she had been too reckless to cover. And within days, whispers spread at her office, her shiny reputation crumbling faster than her loyalty. And when she came home after that trip, suitcase in hand, eyes glazed with guilt but lips curled in a fake grin, she found the locks changed, her phone cut off, her accounts empty, and a single envelope taped to the door with nothing inside but copies of her own messages and those 2 words printed at the bottom: "Be ready." And in that moment, she realized what they had meant all along: not a plea, not forgiveness, but a warning of the storm she had walked into, a storm of her own making. And I watched from my car across the street as her fake smile dissolved into tears, her suitcase falling open on the porch, dresses spilling out like the remnants of a life she had just lost. And I didn't approach, didn't comfort, didn't rage, because my revenge was not in shouting, it was in silence, in the cold calculation of letting her drown in the consequences of her choices. And as days turned into weeks, I heard through friends how quickly her ex abandoned her, how he had no interest in a woman stripped of stability, how he vanished the moment responsibility touched him, and she was left with nothing, no job, no money, no marriage, just the echo of my 2 words chasing her wherever she went, a reminder that in betraying me she had betrayed herself, and the suspense she lived with was not knowing how much further I had planned, how much deeper my reach could go. And the truth was, I didn't need to do more, because her own guilt, her own shame, and the emptiness of the choices she made were punishment enough. And while she wandered through bars and cheap apartments, looking for someone to listen, I rebuilt quietly, stronger, free, and every time I thought of her smile freezing when I said, "Be ready," I knew that was the moment she lost everything. Because in betrayal, it is not the shouting that wins, it is the silence that buries, and she would carry that silence with her forever.